Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you guys how to replace brake pads, more specifically front brake pads on a 2006 Mercury Grand Marquis. So let's first go through some symptoms on why you might need to replace your brake pads. One, you might have some squeaking whenever you hit the brakes, or whenever you hit the brakes you have a parking brake light on the dash, or it stays on all the time. If it stays on all the time, check your brake fluid. Same for if it comes on, but if your brake master cylinder is full and it still comes on, then you might want to go ahead and change your pads. So yeah, again, you might have squeaking or grinding, or you might have far pedal travel before the brake pads actually catch. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're gonna first go through and see what you need to get the job done. So everything's back here. So let's see, we first need a jack and a jack stand, and then we need a 3/8 drive ratchet, a impact preferably, a 3/8 drive, or there's a 1/2-inch drive tire iron, a pry bar, what is this, a 19mm socket, a 1/2-inch drive extension, and a 3/8 drive 14mm socket. And then we need just a regular hammer, a mallet, a big C-clamp, and then our brake pads. So right here, as you can see, these are our new brake pads. So we can compare them to our old brake pads, since I have the passenger side done already. And so you could just see the difference in how much brake material is left. So let's go ahead and get started. So first, we're going to want to jack up the vehicle. So just bring our jack over here. Now, the jacking point on your vehicle can be found either in the owner's manual or by looking it up. On this vehicle, I know it's right behind the left tire, right about here, just on the inside of the fender. And that's the strongest point of the frame. So we'll go ahead and get this vehicle in the air. And so to double check that your vehicle is in the air, just spin see if your wheel will free spin. If you're jacking up the back, you'll have to have it in neutral for that, but you should still be able to move it back and forth just slightly on the parking stop. So we'll actually use the tire iron, and I just remembered something. For a tire iron, you actually need to have the car on the ground first. So let's go ahead and put it back down, just most of the way. And then we also need our pry bar right here, since this vehicle has center caps. So let's see, let's find our little indent. Pop it out with our hand. And then, so what you're going to do is just come over here with your tire iron. And if you can't get it off by hand, which may happen, this one's actually coming off by itself, just with my hand. There we go. So if you can't get it off just, by hand, what you can do is stand on the tire iron, just like this. So you're just gonna stand, might need to put all your weight on it, and then just slowly let it down. And there you go. Let's see, here is another one. And just make sure they're relatively loose when you do this, just to make sure that when we get the car in the air, we don't spin this tire by trying to take the lug nuts off. So let's see, here's gonna be our last one. Go down a little bit, pick it up, and then go down a little bit more. All right, now we can resume getting the vehicle in the air. All right, spin the tire, and it's good. So next thing we're going to want to make sure is that our vehicle is secure. So just grab it by the fender and give it a good shake. So didn't move, but for extra safety, we're actually going to go ahead and put our jack stand down, and we'll just put it right next to the jack. I just need to get it up a little bit higher. Let's get it like that, and then you can feel around for the frame. Almost there. And then set the car on jack stand, and then we'll leave the jack in a way to where both the jack stand and the jack are supporting each other, just so if one fails we have some redundancy. So let's go ahead and put some gloves on. These are optional, it's just my preference. And we'll get started. So let's grab these. Let's go ahead and sit down here and continue taking this wheel off. Sometimes it just needs a little extra turning, but once you get it done, then you should be able to get all of them out by hand, like this one. And then we'll just go around, get them all, and then pull the tire off. Now there's one. And one tip too, since we have this center cap with our vehicle, you can put your lug nuts in there. Leave the tire iron next to it, and then once we're done doing this, we could also leave this socket in there so we have everything neatly in order. Alright, there's two. Oh, looks like we've got another one that wants to be stubborn. Just turn it a little bit. Sometimes even just kind of kicking the wheel around a little bit can help too with getting your lug nuts off, because there will be less pressure on the lug nuts themselves. Let's see, here's another one. Let's see, that is number 3. Let's see about number 4. See if it wants to come off. Let's see now. Well, since this might take a while, I will be right back. I'll be back once this is all done. Alright, now we're getting the final lug nut off. Put a socket aside and our tire iron. And then pull the wheel off. If it wants to come. There we go. Oh, oops. Kind of hit a little bit of the dust sheet. Go ahead and set it down there. So now we have a view of our brakes. So we have our brake rotor, our brake caliper, and the inside are the brake pads. So let's see if I can scoot in just a tad. So it's kind of hard to see, but what you're gonna find is, you know, this is 2 pieces. So you have your caliper like mounting bracket, and then the caliper itself. So the caliper is what squeezes your brake pads onto the rotor, and that's what makes you stop. So when you feel around on here, you're going to find one bolt up here, and then another bolt down below, should be right about there. And those are both 14 millimeters. So let's go ahead and get these off. Now these may be tough to get off, but with a little bit of strength and persuasion, they come right off. Maybe a lot. Oops. There we go. That's one, and then other one is down below. So one tip, if you can't get these off, is to really put your whole body weight into it. But now they're off. So there's one. Put that aside. And you can also put the ratchet aside too with your bolts. And remember, there are 14 millimeters for the brake caliper bolts, and there's 2. So now is kind of the hardest part of the job, is actually getting the caliper off to where you can access the brake pads. So that's where our pry bar can come in and just kind of get it in there and pull away. Who knows, it might be easier than the other side. Turns out it is. So no need for the hammer, actually, it seems like, as far as I can tell. And so let's see if we can get in here. And there you go. So now you can let that rest up top here. And then now, this is also another spot where you might need your hammer, but it's not guaranteed that you will need it. And it looks like I will. So let's go ahead and grab the hammer. So while we're up here, this is the only hammer we'll need. And then grab our brake pads and our C-clamp. Just that way we have more things at our disposal to get the job done quicker. So you can set all that stuff aside. And then see this little groove on the pad? Kind of give it a little tap, break some of the rust, maybe use the claw end and pull. There we go, I see movement. Another thing that helps is the rotor will move too, since we have the wheel off. Let's see, now we can come in here. There we go. Yep, these are bad. Now it's time for the other side. Get your claw in there and just kind of try and persuade it on out. Got it. Make sure we pull that out from underneath the car. Alright, so now I would recommend, cleaning these out. These don't look that bad, but you could just kind of clean them out a little bit if you have something just a little bit abrasive, preferably like a metal wire brush. Kind of just clean these out a little bit. And if you can, put some axle grease in there. Get all the rust out. And then, so now, grab our new pads. I'll start with the back first, because those are a little bit harder to do since you have less visibility, and I have that the wrong way. So let's see, get it in like that. All right, there's one. And there's two. But now, since everything in here is wider, we actually need to push back these two pistons. How might we do that, you ask? What you're gonna do is actually grab your old brake pad, probably one that's a little bit cleaner, like this one. This will do nicely. Put it in its normal spot, and then with your C-clamp, what you're gonna do is just clamp it down. So, gotta go ahead and open this up. And then turn it. So you need just a little bit more room. And so the reason why we have to do this is because as your brake pads wear down, they obviously get narrower. But the car, you know, I guess I could say understands that. And so it'll leave more brake fluid in the cylinder. So in that way, there's no play between the pad and the rotor. So let's see. Now we should have it. There we go. Perfect. Turn it so you have a little bit more room. And then you're going to just clamp it down until that cylinder is flush with all this right here. So you might want to actually adjust it just a little bit. Alright, so there's one side, and then sometimes you might need to do the other side, get it all the way down, or get it most of the way down, then do the other side and go back and forth until both of them are even and flush with the caliper itself. So let's get in on this side, and we'll start clamping it down. So one thing to note is when you first start driving the vehicle, you will have to, I would recommend, you know, just hitting the brakes normally a few times before you actually go, you know, out on the road, because that will help reseat the brake pads and the cylinders on the caliper. So we're done with that. And then so now all we have to do is just put this back. So let's make sure that's actually twisted up. And so now get it down like that, squeeze the pin. You have to do it again on this side. So one thing that really helps is when you're screwing this back in, start with the top and then use the top as a pivot point to align the bottom. So let's see. That looks to be lined and it is screwing in. Perfect. And then so now push this pin in. Might need a little bit more wiggling. And a smack. And then just pull it back a little bit. And then just try to screw it in place. Sometimes, and it looks like this is the case, this thing is a certain shape, and that shape has to align with the caliper. And then you can screw it all in. If the bottom will go back in. But it will, eventually. You just have to kind of screw with it a little bit. There we go, now it caught. And so now get a ratchet and you could start with the top. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then just give it one more tug, and there you are. So the reason why you have this play is because the pistons are pushed back further than they normally would be with new pads. So that's why we're going to hit the brakes once we have everything back together. So you can now move everything aside, and we can go ahead and get our wheel back on. Alright, let's see. So one thing that helps is remember how your star is. Like, remember how the hub is on the car, and then try and get your wheel lined up the same way. And we just about have that, and boom, on the car. And so now you can start getting these on there. And remember, they should go on pretty smoothly. If they don't, like this one, it's cross-threaded. This one, there we go. Now it's in a good spot. So what you're gonna want to do is just get these hand tight while pushing on the wheel like this. So I have my foot in place to, there we go. And you'll just keep going around. Sometimes you might need to kind of kick the wheel about, make sure it's in the right position. Let's see, guys, just keep going. Let's see, that one hit something. This one can go on further. So you could just get them to where, you know, they won't move with your hand anymore. And then that's when our extension and impact will come in. And I only need the extension because of how this socket is. So let's go ahead and grab those. So the reason why we won't use the tire iron to get these back on is because you can't get the lug nuts as tight as they should be. That's in the right direction. So a tire iron you can get tight enough to get you down the road, but you should still make sure you get your lug nuts tightened with an impact. So let's go ahead and get this on. So what you're going to want to do is tighten these in a star pattern. So as you can see, if you imagine it, we have a star. We're going to start right here, do that, which we just did. Then we're going to do this one, then go across, do that one, and then do that one. Good. And then the next. And then what I'd recommend is just go over again. And then get our center cap, get one end in place, and then smack it on there. So now we can raise the car just a wee bit, pull our jack stand out, and then set the car back on the ground. So I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.